Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Data Standard Audio Experience. I'm your host, Catherine Tao. Today, we have Dweep Ashar, a senior consultant and financial analyst from WNA. And today, we're going to be speaking more about long-term data process. So welcome to the show, Dweep. I'm excited to have you today.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Could you tell us more about your background and just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dweep Ashar. I'm a senior consultant currently for WNA, where we work with some Fortune 100 clients, primarily in the telecom and fintech industries. I'll go a little bit in chronological order. So I graduated with a degree in hospitality management. And for a couple of years, I was working really more front office in hospitality operations. I built up, I think, a pretty good skill set in customer service and team building that way. From there, I was also working on my MBA and started to do a lot more heavy forecasting and financial analytics work through the MBA program and moved into kind of a formal accounting role at the end of that program. So through the accounting roles, I was doing kind of a lot of month-end work, a lot of heavy work in general ledgers and financial statement reconciliations and journal entries, and kind of transitioned into more of a technical finance role where we started to work more on heavy forecasting models, building pro formas, starting to utilize a lot more of the financial tools such as things like SQL and R and Hyperion and some of the more advanced forecasting and analytical tools that are out there. Currently, like I mentioned, I am a senior consultant, and my current responsibilities, I mainly do a lot of business transformation and just a lot of project management and leadership work with AT&T in the telecom industry, really centered kind of around their business intelligence units and some of their financial work for the consumer tech organization.
Yeah, that sounds great. And so now I wanted to talk more about the gathering the data portion. So what are some of the best practices to kind of gathering this quality data and finding the best kind of data for your specific organization to solve your problems?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about kind of finding the best data, I think there's a very unique challenge that consultants in this industry face, and that revolves pretty heavily around data security. So when you're a consultant in this kind of analytics and data science industry, by most companies, you're considered a third party or a contractor. And there are obviously a lot of very serious security rules around who can access what type of data, especially when you consider about finance, where we're dealing with things like individual salaries, individual benefits, and items like that to help us forecast out our projected resource allocations, months or quarters or years ahead of time. So with being a consultant, you have kind of this unique opportunity where you need to really balance your need for data versus, what kind of the company's rules are around data access. It's really easy as a consultant to raise red flags around trying to request certain types of financial data from the company, obviously as a third party or even as an employee. A key part of this really is building good relationships and really keeping an open line of communication, as well as maintaining that data quality log, requirements data collection log as well. You want to be able to track all of your pull requests back to your main business requirement or requirements and just make sure there's no ambiguity around the things that you're trying to request.
Yeah, that sounds great. Definitely. I just wanted to also talk about the processing the data now. So from your experience, what does processing the data really look like from your past experiences and your past work?
Sure. So when we talk about processing the data, what we're really trying to do is meet four key points or four key goals with our overall data set. Especially when we talk about something like financial data, we want a data set that is unique. We don't want duplicate values. We don't want three different types of costs in 1 month or three different types of sales in 1 month if they're all referring to the same product or same item. There should just be one value for per line item that isn't replicated multiple times. We're also looking for a data set or trying to create a data set that is considered complete. We're trying to eliminate as many blank or null values as we possibly can. We're trying to avoid some of the ambiguity within the data. This is one of the more challenging parts of the processing because you may have to combine multiple data sources, multiple sets and kind of append them into a single set to help you fill in some of those blanks. You might have to make use of some predictive analytic work. You might have to create some estimates or forecasts to fill in some of the gaps in the knowledge of the data set that you created. We're also looking for something that is going to be consistent period over period. This is something that I think I experience quite a bit. And one of the challenges I come across pretty consistently is, firstly, when you talk about consistency, just making sure you have the same naming conventions, period over period, whether that's months or quarters or years. You don't want to use, for example, revenue in January and then use the term sales in February and then switch to, REV instead of revenue down in August, because things like that will start to kind of affect how clean your data set is, it'll start to affect your refresh processes. The computer is looking for a very specific set of words, a very specific text string. And when you start to change those things, it just creates a lot of extra manual work that could be easily avoided with clean consistency. Aside from the naming revenues, it's also important to have some consistency in your units of measurement. When we work with a large firm or a global firm such as AT&T, we have sales or revenue and cost coming from not just the US, but countries all over the world. So it's important to establish kind of back to business requirements, who are your end users. Are you reporting in the US in that terms that you want to convert all your euros or other currencies into dollars? Are you reporting for someone international? Are you reporting for, just for example, your UK unit? So do you want to convert at that point, the dollars into euros? So it's important to have the same level of measurement across each period that you're measuring. And it's also important just more in terms of cleanliness to make sure you're using the same units of measurement in terms of millions or thousands. Are you only going to be reporting in intervals of thousands? Are you only going to be reporting in intervals of millions? Are you only going to be using one decimal place or two decimal places? Things like that. They may be considered small, but they just help keep your data set clean and help keep it organized. So, whether someone's following up with you after that, or you are trying to onboard a new team member, or you have some new end users that are unfamiliar, you have consistency month over month, and they're not trying to learn something new in each iteration of your intelligence report. And finally, we're also looking at making sure the information is correct, right? Because it is financial information. We're not trying to report inaccuracies when it comes to financial data, especially when it affects things like stock prices, things like, initiatives around managing total cost. We want to make sure that everyone is on the same page. A big piece of that really, and one of the challenges I come across, is in refresh schedules, especially with financial data where you have multiple business units trying to report at different times and at different levels of the organization. It's important that everyone keeps a consistent refresh period for the data. We don't want one person getting a data that's a week old versus somebody else that has real-time data versus someone else that's running a month behind. And then finally, one of the other last challenges I come across when it comes to processing data is work that's done externally through external tools. It's very important to kind of keep your data quality, data cleaning process as close to the starting point as you can. I tend to find a lot of heavy reliance on downstream cleaning where, you might extract something and then make a change in, for example, an Excel document and then push that Excel document out to an end user, but the change has not happened in the database. So it leads to some inconsistencies there. So that's a big part of processing your data and making it clean as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great explanation of kind of the processing of the data side. And I wanted to also kind of talk about the after processing it. So after you've processed it, you've completed it, and now it's time to kind of present it to the business stakeholders and just other people on your team. So what is the best way to kind of present and communicate all the findings to everyone on your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to go through a 3-step process. One of the first steps is an internal review. And this is really just restricted to our development team, our internal team of analysts, maybe our supervisor or director of our business unit. And what we're really looking to do here is we're going a little bit back to processing. We're ensuring accuracy of all the data, and we're looking at some of the aesthetic items and some of the potential bugs or bottlenecks that are coming across through this intelligence report, trying to think in terms of the ultimate end users. How readable is this intelligence document? Are we answering the main question or questions that we identified in our business requirements? Is there any part of this report that could be viewed as contradictory, confusing? Just making sure that the report makes sense to us as an internal team. From there, once we've been able to iron out those issues, we'll go into kind of an external review and really more with a focus group. And this is a select group of end users, not all the stakeholders, not really everybody that's going to use it, but just a select few that we've pre-chosen that have kind of an in-depth working knowledge of the data that we're presenting, as well as knowledge of the tool that we're using to present. And we work with them one-on-one or in small focus groups and just get their feedback on really, again, more the aesthetics. At that point, we've ironed out the issues and bottlenecks. We've verified the accuracy of the data, and we're just looking for them as end users to tell us, do these visuals work for you? Does this information help you solve your issues? Does it help you, set some of your more strategic initiatives and help push some of your goals forward? At that process, once we're through with that, we'll go to live deployment. It goes out to all the end users. And at that point, we're really just doing more admin work and a lot more maintenance work, just making sure our scheduled refreshes are accurate, just consistently checking the data, making sure there's no errors in our coding or errors in our report at the end user perspective. And we also field a lot of questions and ad hoc requests at that point, whether it's a VP or AVP or some more upper management senior leaders that'll ask us to pinpoint into a very specific item and provide some more detail there.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And throughout this whole process, we kind of talked about the before, present, and the after of processing the data and just the whole process of it. So do you have a specific favorite part of this entire process that you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite parts about going through kind of this data process, cleaning process and loading process is really one of the first steps is the business requirements. This is kind of my opportunity and my team's opportunity to reach out to all these external stakeholders, all these end users, and trying to find out, what can we do to make your life easier, or what can we do to help drive your solutions, help drive your goals. And to me, that's really the best part of this whole process, or even business intelligence in general, is, we're always trying to push these reports out, push out this kind of data to, help make other people's lives easier. We want you to use the data. We want you to be more successful in your goals and, use all the information that we've collected to help you accomplish those goals.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Dweep, for joining us today. We at the Data Standard, we're trying to build a community where everyone can just network and collaborate with each other. So what is something that we can do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great to put this community together. Again, I'm really excited to be a part of it and be on this podcast. I'd love to connect with other listeners or other people that are part of the Data Standard and just work together on maybe different open source projects, things like that. I'm currently learning R, kind of helping boost my skills there. So I'm always looking for people that are also learning R or might have good R skills that are looking to be mentors or anyone just kind of familiar with that language.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And where can everyone find you online to connect with you?
Sure. So my LinkedIn is really the best place. Please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. Send me a message saying, I was listening to Data Standard. I heard your recording. Would love to connect and work together on a project or just talk more about data science or data analytics in general.
Yeah, sounds great. And to our audience, for more information on the Data Standard, you can find us at www.datastandard.io, as well as on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Dweep, for joining us. It was so great to have you on the show today.
Yep. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on.